Commission on Human Rights is the city agency that is responsible for enforcing the city's very broad and very protective anti-discrimination and anti-harassment protections. We have jurisdiction over many aspects of life in New York City. So we protect against discrimination and harassment at the workplace, in housing, in places of public accommodations, on the street, and also bias-based profiling by law enforcement. We also have over 22 categories of protection. So, you know, many people in New York City are covered by our laws and can find remedies for when they are facing discrimination or harassment. I came in to lead the commission a little bit over 2 years ago, and since I've come in as the chair and commissioner for the agency, it has been our mission to reach out to both some of the city's most vulnerable communities as well as communities that haven't typically had strong relationships with government. And when we think about who some of those communities are, they certainly include some of the city's African communities. So we want to make sure that, you know, folks know who the commission is, specifically know people at the commission, because it's a relationship they need to build, and we need to be building with people, so they have to know who they are calling when they need help or when they need resources. And we also wanted to make sure that by inviting over 20 other city agencies and community partners, we were also providing an opportunity where folks could find out resources across the city. So they have not only the resources for, you know, if they're being discriminated or harassed, but they also have resources, so if they need to know what resources they have for purposes of immigration-related issues, family-related issues, what have you, that there are other organizations and groups and agencies here that they can speak to. When I just look at the commission statistics, frankly, from the past year, you know, reporting into the commission is up by 60% just in the last year. And when you break down those statistics, you know, if I look just at the area of claims of discrimination based on race and national origin and religion and immigration status and faith, just those statistics alone, those are up by a whopping 30%. And certainly, and if I think about the different reasons that African immigrants or children of African immigrants might experience discrimination or harassment in the city, they certainly fall into those categories. So we want to make sure this, which is obviously relevant as we're seeing in the statistics, that we're reaching out to the communities that need this information the most.
My takeaway would be that they are a lot of resources available out there for the African community, and that's something that, although I knew a little bit about, but I didn't really know that we had so much to offer. So it's really it's great. I went around all the tables. I was able to gather some information that myself could share with a lot of people. So I learned a lot.
I think one thing that African immigrants where we suffer is that within ourselves, we don't necessarily discuss things that are pertaining to us and what our problems are, because we fear that others may judge or will be quick to kind of give us a negative experience. But in fact, I think the moment that we do actually talk about what's happening to us, how we're being affected, that's when we can allow for protection to come in and for change to actually happen. And so I think or at least with this forum, one thing that's great is that you were able to leave here with at least 2 to 3 connections that you can definitely follow up with on your own. And they had the languages that were available. I mean, I'm still learning French. I'm not fluent in French, but I feel like when you have someone who is fluent in the language and is explaining to you one-on-one, you feel way more comfortable and even open to asking questions, because it's just easier to get that communication across.
I'm from Nigeria. This is my 1 year exactly in New York. I was made privy of this information to attend this forum. Initially, I was very disturbed because of the things I was actually going through, and the reason why I came to New York. So far, so good. The forum has been a very inspiring one, in the sense that it touched on the various aspects of fears and questions hitherto I needed to know regarding immigration, regarding my rights as an immigrant in the United States. And the facilitators too were also very helpful, and they were up to date on the information regarding the recent happenings around immigration issues and what we should do, where to go to, numbers to call in case we have any difficulties or challenges. I look forward for another experience like this, and also to share this information with others who might not know or be aware of a forum like this.
I think it is difficult for anyone, if they are the victim of discrimination or harassment, to come forward and say something, because oftentimes somebody is they're dealing with their own feelings of being alienated or treated differently, and everything that might conjure for not just themselves, but frankly also their family and their community. So I think what's essential in this is that government, especially local government, takes on the responsibility of building relationships with these communities, because we don't expect that folks are going to come forward and just embrace government without these relationships being in place. And that's why, again, over the last 2 years, we have really prioritized making our staff at the Commission on Human Rights more representative of the communities, because people understand that if we look like these communities, if we sound like these communities, if we are from these communities, they're more likely to come forward and raise these claims of discrimination and harassment. So, one thing off the top of my head is, over the last 2 years, we went from speaking 6 languages across the agency to 29. So our staff, combination of our staff, now speak 29 different languages across this agency, so that we can actually speak like the communities that we're serving. So one of the things that people need to know in New York City is we protect people specifically because of their immigration status. So if somebody is being treated differently, meaning like, for instance, if a landlord is saying to somebody, you know what, I'm not going to fix the problem you're having with your electricity or your water. I'm not going to make the necessary repairs that I would for somebody else, and I'm not going to do them because I think that you're not going to say anything because of your immigration status. Those are precisely the types of cases that the Commission on Human Rights wants to take on, because those are precisely the people that should not be victimized ever, and especially in this climate. So New York City and the city human rights law does protect people because of their immigration status, because of their national origin, because of their faith, because of their race, because of many different categories that we have under the law. If you are a victim of discrimination or harassment, if you think you might be, if you've witnessed somebody being attacked or somebody who has been victimized because of discrimination or harassment, again, in employment, in housing, trying to access a public accommodation, or, on the street, please do call the Commission on Human Rights. You could reach us by dialing 311, asking for human rights, or you could also reach us directly if you call 718-722-3131.